Hello and welcome to today's podcast from the Mindful Rambler. My name is Chris and today's topic is why do men still struggle to ask for help? And today I am very pleased to be joined by Beatrix, who is a coach and she coaches men. So a very good guest to have on today to discuss all the different topics that we have to discuss. So hello Beatrix, and I'll just quickly pass across to you to say hello.
Hello everyone, hello Chris, thank you for having me. Yes, this is a brilliant opportunity to discuss this topic. I think very much needed as well, so yeah, very excited about it.
Okay, so I think we'll just dive straight into it. So today's topic, and it's quite close to my heart, is why do men still struggle to ask for help? If I think about myself as an individual, going back, it took me, when I realised, I didn't realise, it took me 15 years to actually realise I did need help. But because I went through all these different emotions and situations in my life, and the way I was brought up as well. And I suppose that's the first subject to talk about, is that cultural conditioning and kind of masculine norms. And I think, I don't know if you agree or not, but it comes to how we are brought up. So if you go back to maybe when our fathers were, my dad was my age, it was the norm that men shouldn't be asking for help. They should be, the horrible phrase, I'm going to start with, that horrible phrase is man up. You just need to man up and sort it out yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, yes. I've experienced that with working with men, and everything starts from how we grow up, right? So our upbringing, there's a lot that we carry on into our adulthood, and this is one of the main things that you've just mentioned, the man up and we don't ask for help.
Yeah.
And it doesn't only affect asking for help in the health field or mental health field. It could be anything else, but it definitely does very, very much define that generation who were affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I see the
100%.
problem. And even now, and that's why I say it's still now, there still seems to be the problem. Yes, definitely it's getting better. And it was probably the best thing that I ever did. You know, I went out and found out who I needed to talk to. So we all go through different challenges, or men go through different challenges. And at the time, I needed bereavement help. That's what I needed. That's what I worked out. I needed help, but it can be many, many different things. So it's going out and just trying to find the right help for you. But it's trying to get over that barrier of how you're conditioned, how you're brought up, and told that you shouldn't have to ask for help. You should be able to do it all yourself. And that's the way I used to talk to myself. I used to say, "I'm a man. I should be able to deal with it. I should be able to deal with this myself." And that just was not the case. And it's an unfortunate mentality that we still seem to live with.
Yes, that's correct. And somehow it feels like that is what masculinity is. Even if someone was brought up more in a less conditioned way to, man up and not ask for help, but it's just like, I think in a natural instinct in a man that I'm a man and I stand stable and still and I know what to do and I should be able to handle that. But when we ask for help, actually that's when that's when a man can become even stronger, I believe.
Yes. And it's like, if you flip around, you think about women, they have no problem at all, the ones I speak to, about asking for help and opening up about their vulnerabilities. And that's the way that I had to open up, was to realise that having these vulnerabilities wasn't an issue. It was a superpower. It's something that you should be able to use to help you get past it. Once you actually open up, the way it makes you feel, and just the release once you actually do it is quite incredible. but it's having that strength to do it. That's the big problem.
Yes, I've noticed that is that first step, but once you do it, then you know what it is about, and you know how much power there is and liberation it is in opening up or being vulnerable. Yes.
And what do you think about,
Yeah.
so slightly segueing into 2025 and all the technology that we have nowadays, the social media influence as well does not help. So if you go back to, as I talked about before, like when my dad was my age, that technology wasn't there. So you didn't have that comparison to have the perfect body or the perfect mindset or be the best business owner or whatever it is you see. But unfortunately, a lot of people, the way I see it is, a lot of people see social media as reality, so it's all real. Whereas a lot of stuff that's posted, especially about the perfect body, might not be actual reality, or the perfect mindset. This person seems to be happy all the time. That's just because all you see in what you see in social media, which to me is not reality. So there's that extra challenge that men have nowadays of having all this comparison to social media.
Yes, that's true, and that's huge for a man, comparing themselves, because you know the competitiveness, the achievement, and things like that. Yeah. Well, I think it's really just about, is this working for me or not? Does comparing myself work for me? Does it give me peace of mind? Does it really move me forward? And just put into place whatever I have to put into place in order not to fall into that pit of, I compare and then I feel whatever way I feel, whatever way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Focus on myself. I think that's huge. Focusing on everyone's journey, individual journey, and make the most out of that.
Yeah. And that's a great point. It is. It's all about, and it doesn't happen overnight. But once you do realize that, or you notice that you are focusing too much on other people or social media, as we just talked about, it comes down to learning to try and let that go. Yes, you can. There's a lot you can take from social media, beneficial, that can help you. You know, if it resonates with you. But you, as you just said, you've got to learn just to focus on you. We're all different. We're all humans, and we're all different. We're all different, and we need to focus on us as individuals. And once we can learn to do that, then it will become easier. And especially when it comes to asking for help.
Yes, 100%. Yes, yeah, that's true.
Because then we have the point, you know, there's always that, you know, men should be putting the food on the table, and it's just that's what they think they should be focusing on. And as we talked about before, it's that trying to get past that, being seen as a weakness. It's a weakness to ask for help. Whereas what I said about before, like showing your vulnerabilities, asking for help, should be a superpower.
Yes.
We're just at that stage where men definitely getting better, but it's just not. It's not where we want to get to. And I also saw, and it didn't help. The other point was in the corporate industry. So I used to work in the corporate industry, and in there, especially towards the sort of latter years, there was groups for every different kind of individual you can think of. You know, all different kinds of groups. But there was one group that was missing that I never saw much emphasis put behind, and that was middle-aged men, family men. There was no groups to support them in any way. So there was different groups for different types of women, or all different kinds of genders, all that kind of stuff. But it was just that one that was just missing was the men, middle-aged men, you know, middle-aged family men. There was nothing there to support them because there's still that thought that they should need help. Simple as that. So it's not just the way they think, it's also the way that they see other people thinking about them, and that's what I saw in the corporate industry.
Yes, right. That subconscious bias looks like appeared or
Yeah.
presented itself. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually not true, and we would have way more healthier middle-aged men if we ditched that, and if we gave them help and empowered them to open up.
But what I have
Yes.
seen, which is good, it's not so much in the corporate industry, but just individually. You can outside that, just individual people have now started to see the need for it. So there's like up here, there's a thing called I think it's called the men's car club or something, and there's another one called the men's club, which is quite close to where I live, and that is for men who just want to go along. And there's no, the way I like it, there's no, and I'm sure anybody watching this now, go online, there'll be groups out there for you, just need to go and search for them. But it's a case of this men going along, taking their lunch with them, and maybe taking some sort of activity or something they want to create, but it's more of just doing it together and just talking. Just sitting down in a group and having a really good conversation about how they're actually feeling and being happy to, and there's no judgment there, it was very much open up and go for it. So
that's brilliant.
So that is something I am seeing, which is good.
Yes.
So
Have you been yourself?
Yes, I've been. I've met the owner. I was lucky enough. I was at a market actually, doing my other business, selling rum, which you might know about. And I met somebody there who was promoting it. So I ended up going along. So it was quite interesting to meet these guys. And it was just nice to see something of that actually happening.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. Yes. Because oftentimes a middle-aged man, big middle-aged man, all the responsibilities, could be a lonely journey.
Yes.
So it's important that there's a support group around the person, and encouragement, empowerment, more practicing the vulnerability, kind of that they can bring back home as well.
Yeah.
And that's maybe deeper connection with family.
Is that something you find when you're chatting or talking to men in your coaching environment? Is that something that they struggle to find, is to have groups like that, groups where they can sit and chat to other men?
I see that men who I've encountered or met is very private. So it's like, I'm doing this on my own. If I seek help, I might not show vulnerability in front of other men. That's been the case. I think it's very important to find the right group as well.
Yes.
I've seen so many groups that are more of the, more about discouragement or the venting or the, I don't know, it's on a lower energy, if I may say that. So it's very important that a man finds the right group.
Yeah.
And yes, the people who I work with are more like, I don't want to kind of disclose what I'm doing. In terms of like seeking help is kind of private, and I'm doing it alone. I'm doing it in silence. So yeah, I think we see both. I've encountered both. Some people who start with like groups and just get familiar with opening up. Some already like, I wouldn't like to do that because, as you said before, the fear of judgment could be there from other men, or comparing myself. So yes, I've experienced the two sides.
And that moves us on nicely to that next kind of section, and that is the fear of judgment. And it seems to be, you've got we talked about a minute ago, so you've got your conditioning from your past and how you're brought up.
Yes.
But then there's also that next stage now where men in their 40s, as an example, do fear being judged. And it's probably one of the reasons why I didn't see it within the corporate industry, is because they get feared to be judged by their peers. So maybe people have tried to set it up, but people are just not open enough to go along to them because of this fear of judgment. They fear, again, it's going back to that showing a weakness. If they go along to that group to discuss how they're feeling, to try and get answers, they worry about being judged by their peers, but not just them, their family as well. If they go home and tell them, and then they're, as I said, working in the same company, their work colleagues. So it's probably another huge stepping stone that they need to get past, is that fear of judgment. But I think it's more, it comes down to a mindset thing to me. You can, it's a mindset thing where it's them telling themselves that. Whereas if they actually went along, and that's what I've found, if you actually go along, or you do speak to people about how you're feeling, there is no judgment there, or there's very little judgment.
And they say when you when you have that fear of judgment, you're actually judging yourself. That comes from that place, and that's quite understandable.
Yeah.
I'm a man, I should be ... all the things that are not true.
And there's also that point of they worry it will diminish their competency, their masculinity and stuff, things like that. If they do, then everything they built up, even though it's been a struggle, or even though it's been done behind their true self, they're not being true to themselves, but they're putting on this show, they feel that all that they've built up, they'll lose that because of going along or opening up, or asking for help, or discussing their issues, being true to themselves.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, yes. Wow, that's beautifully said. That is exactly it. I think the mindset bit really comes down to the perception a man puts behind all this, the journey of helping himself.
And that's
if you have, if you have the right perception, just like you had, I'm looking for help, and I am taking the strength to go through it. And then you went into it, and then all of a sudden you've experienced something uplifting or empowering, because you've realized vulnerability is your superpower.
And that is what really hit home to me, was that once I did it, the feeling of enlightenment, of empowerment. Why did it take me so long? I mean, that was one of the bigger questions I asked myself. I don't look back. I try not to have regrets. Is why did it take me so long? If there's anybody out there just now watching this and they're thinking, I need to ask for help, don't think anymore. Just go and do it, because my experience, the feeling was just incredible. I was just so happy that I did it. And just going back to fear of judgments, there's the other point of, and there's a lot of this going on nowadays, is the expectations of others. So you might be feared to be judged by your family, so you've decided, you do need help, you want to go out ask for help, but you don't do it because the expectations of your family, of your children, of your other half, there'll be a lot of expectations there. They expect you to be this man, to be strong, to put the food on the table, to be able to do everything, that they ask. And men try and force themselves to do that because of the expectations put on them. But again, I think that comes down to that mindset piece, that it's them telling them that story, where if they actually opened up to their other half and spoke to them about it, they might get a completely different answer.
Yes, that's correct. I was going to ask you, what would you suggest to that man? And I think communication would be very much of a big thing in that. Like, I dare to say, the right partner, the right woman would never judge
Exactly.
a man, but empower and encourage that man.
And this is exactly what I was about to say, and it's going to sound a little bit harsh, but if you were to open up, and I would think a very high percentage of time, if your other half loves you, cares about you, they're going to have no problem with you opening up, and they're going to want to help you. However,
Yes.
if they don't, are they the right person for you? That's the big question there.
Yeah, that's a big question. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Yes. So, and when that communication happens, then a man can realize there's no judgment here. I am telling those stories myself, and then I can turn those stories around and make the necessary steps, or take the necessary steps I have to take, and go out.
Yeah. I think that's one of the big points. It's probably one of the biggest things people should get out of this podcast is being very honest with yourself and asking yourself that question: is this a story that I'm making up in my head, or is it reality? That's the key. Is it reality? If it is reality, I'll be very surprised if it is. I think it's the stories that they make up in their head through the conditioning, through the fear of judgment, through all the different elements that make a man what he is now.
Totally.
So, moving on to another area is the kind of identity being tied to their achievement. So by the time a man sort of reaches 40s, the midlife kind of age, a lot of their self-worth will be tied to their success or their career. And if they go out and ask for help, it's going to be seen like they have failed. So if they're now struggling, they're going to feel like they're failing. So all that achievement they've reached so far in their life is going to go, because they've reached that midlife where they realise that they are struggling, they do need help, but they don't want to ask for the help because of what they've achieved so far in life, and they worry they're going to lose all that.
Oh, that's a very, very good topic. I think, yes, again, if you see it as because they don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. You don't know until you actually are in the situation. So, of course, it's again like it could be a story or perception they give to themselves. And if they turned it around, I think I always come from this place like I get to choose the perception, I get to choose the story behind it. So which perception works for me best?
Yeah.
The perception that I've achieved so much, and maybe it's great that I've realized that I need help. It's great that there is loads of resources out there, and it doesn't mean that I am failing, but it means that I might have been paying more attention to my achievements and standing up to my role as a provider than paying more attention to really what's going inside of me.
Exactly.
So now it's time that I look inside and I understand what's going on, so that if I want to achieve more, I can achieve more. And feeling healthier, feeling better, feeling more empowered in the process. So I totally understand. It's not because I want to disregard or something, but I totally understand where men come from. But it's again the perception that we put behind, or the story we put behind everything.
Yeah. To me, it's, everything you've achieved in your life so far is not going to go away suddenly because you ask for help. And I think a lot of people feels that the men it feels will undermine their status within their family or within their business or within the community, whatever it is, the minute they ask for help, which is not the case. In fact, it will probably improve it. That's what it certainly, for me, it's definitely improved it. I became a better person. I became more open. I was more attached to my emotions. I was more open about how I felt, and that has definitely improved me as a person and taken me on a completely different journey, which has been great. It's so. To answer that, for me, it's very much a case of you will have achieved a lot by now. Everything you said as well, but it's more about don't worry that you're going to lose all that. In fact, it's probably going to improve it. Is the way I see it. It's not, you're not going to suddenly lose all this status or whatever you call it. It'll probably actually improve your status. You'll be seen as a better person because you can actually open up.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Nothing goes away. A man becomes a better version of himself as a human being first, so that then he can step into the role of the man he wants to present himself.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't mean.
And then another subject which kind of ties into the first one, but it comes down to the emotional languages that men use or don't use. Is probably the better way of putting it. Especially from the past. So women probably are taught more about emotions and how to share them, and they're much better at doing it. Always have been, probably always will be. Men, yes, maybe are getting better, but again, it comes back to that kind of midlife men we're talking about who would have been taught that because of the way they were brought up, the way they're conditioned, man up, you can deal with it yourself. So they now they're seeing it more that, actually I can open up, but they don't know how. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to share their emotions. They don't know what language to use. So it's hard for them to articulate why they're struggling. So instead of going out and saying, right, I need help, I'm going to go out and find that right person, and then I'm going to go and speak to them. They suppress it. They keep it because they just don't know who to speak to or how to speak to them, or it's just easier just to keep it all in, when in fact it's not.
Yes, that's true. And what do you think could help men to walk that path and open up instead of suppressing?
I think it's a case of going out there and doing it. Once they realise, it all kind of fits in, it all kind of falls in when you realise you need the help and you decide I'm going to go out and ask for it, I'm going to go and find it, and I'm going to go and ask for it, I'm going to speak to the right person. It just happens. It's like best example I can actually give is when I first had my first child, and it was handed to me in the hospital, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do now? But it just naturally happened, and it's the same kind of thing here. Is once you actually, you realise you want to do it, and it's put upon you, then it just all kind of happens naturally. Yes, it'll take time to learn, it'll take time to build it into a habit, but anything does. But it's just that case of taking that first step, and then you'll learn. And of course, talked about social media not long ago, and all the benefits that it has, and that's one of the benefits it has. You can go in now, and at the end of your fingertips, you can find the answer just by typing it into Google, and it'll certainly start you on the right path. It'll get you in the right direction. And the other thing is to go out there and find people, like men, similar men who have been through it and have now started their journey, and talk to them. There will be people out there, like using myself as an example. I've been through it, and I'm still going through it, and being very mindful that it's a journey as well. It will take a lot of time to learn, to keep going, and to find whatever best suits you.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. Yeah, thank you. Yes. I think sometimes it's also about, as you say, finding the right help, and if you are with someone who can help you to tap into yourself and your emotions, that's one really good thing. Another thing is allowing yourself to go through the journey, and because men often feel losing control.
Yes.
Right? But that's really not the case, because you gain control through this process. So allowing a person to step into that field they might not ever have experienced. So of course naturally there is some resistance, and we take the path of least resistance, which is suppressing, or the most comfortable one, or the most, I would say, not comfortable but most known path for men. But it is something that's absolutely possible, and it's as I always say, it's a human thing. Men are human too. It's just that they were conditioned differently. And can I please just say something for those men who are listening, Chris? Sorry. You've mentioned before women. I dare to say, just because women were allowed, or they grew up expressing their emotions, actually that does not mean a woman is emotionally literate, emotionally intelligent. That just means she knows how to express it.
Yeah.
But behind emotional intelligence, there's discipline, there is being in charge of the emotions, expressing them in the appropriate time, appropriate place. So I think in general, it's not, maybe men could be, of course they were not behind in the journey, but they were taught something different.
Yes.
But I think both genders have room for improvement in general. And that's how women can also become a supportive partner for the men. For example, that's when the no judgment comes in, right? So that empowers the men to seek help.
Yeah. And that's a great point for men to hear as well, that they may think that women have it all perfect. They know exactly when it comes to asking for help and going out there and seeking it, and then having that conversation dead easy for them, where actually it's not. They're on a very, they're on a similar journey. Yes, as you said, maybe men are slightly behind. I mean, I'm not talking about all men, but the ones that a lot of I've spoken to certainly are. But men and women are both, as I say, men and women, but we're all human, and we all have that. Yes. We all have the same challenges when it comes to this kind of thing.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to move, because you mentioned it just a second ago, was the losing control. And that's a big thing that when men or when they know when they need to seek help, they're going to have to share their vulnerabilities, and they don't want to do that, because if you share vulnerabilities, it feels like you're going to lose control.
Yeah.
Which.
What do you think? What's your experience with that? Is that true?
No, for me it wasn't. It gave me more control. It gave me more control of my life.
Yes.
Because, just take a step back to the last subject, it's that men get, well, we all do, into a comfort zone. and it's difficult to move out of that comfort zone. So it's easier just to carry on each day, not need the help I want, not show my vulnerabilities, just I'll just stay where I am and know how to deal with it. Yes, it's really difficult. I'm not happy, which in life, happiness is something we should all be seeking. It should be one of our main aims in life. But it's, you just go through the rigmarole of every single day and just don't do anything at this state. And I don't like the word comfort zone in this situation because you're not comfortable. But it's the best way to describe it, because you're certainly uncomfortable when you feel
Yes.
it. But yeah, when I opened up about mine, and I went through different stages. As I started bereavement, and then I had to go through I had to find different people to speak to with different subjects depending where I was, my journey. But I definitely, once I had opened up and I'd shared my vulnerabilities, that I felt I had more control, because I felt I had more space now to do what I wanted in life, to live the life I wanted,
Yes.
and to begin a new journey, basically, because I'd been sort of so hidden away in this emotional state that I was in my own mind. And then once I did take that step out of that, yeah, definitely, I feel I took back control of my life. Actually, the way I feel it. So you may feel that you're going to lose control, but you're not actually going to lose control at all, because you've probably actually lost control already where you are hidden away. When you open up, you take back control of your life, of your real life, of reality, of your true self.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Wonderful. Yes. Well done, Chris.
And
That's so true. Couldn't agree with you more.
And it comes back to the expectation thing as well. Not just expectation as in yourself. So you have your expectations yourself, but then people outside, your people you work with, your family, your friends, they'll also have expectations of you as well. And that expectation is that you shouldn't be losing control. So as a man, you should never lose control, which is again is not true, but unfortunately it's something that is conditioned from the past, and also it's something that then gets ingrained into our mindset.
Yeah, yes, that's true. But Chris, what do you think? I always say, I say this, what better control can we have over our life other than being in control of our mind and our emotions, and being in control of understanding who we are? Because you gain control by understanding that, opening up of vulnerability, by understanding your emotions, by understanding yourself. And that is the biggest control we can ever have, or I think the foundation of how a man can build up his life.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's definitely not about losing control, but as you say and experience, it is absolutely about gaining control. And I experienced the same as well.
Yeah, and I think
to be honest,
it comes down. It's not just a man thing. It's a human thing.
Yeah.
It's that fear of losing control. Whereas when you actually open up, you're actually, by asking for help and opening up about how you're feeling, really. That's how you gain control. That's how you get control back to your life.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And then when it comes to going back to the men in their 40s and the midlife pressure they have. So I don't like the word midlife. It's kind of, it could be any number really nowadays. But I kind of look at that as kind of people my kind of age, 40 plus. So there's a lot more kind of unique challenges that men will have when they reach that certain stage in their life. So it's balancing family responsibilities, their career plateauing or taking it forward, and reevaluating life goals. You know, that kind of the midlife crisis thing that people talk about when you get to that age. And that's another huge pressure that men have on them, which can lead to, I think, and you have all these pressures, feelings of isolation, because they convince themselves they've got all this stuff they've got to do now in their midlife, and they've got to do it all alone. They can't delegate stuff, or they can't manage everything that they've brought on, but they just feel they have to, because of the age that they've reached. So it's very much a case of, I've got my family to look after, I've got my career to do, but I also have all these goals I want to do, and I've also got to try and find time for myself, and that's the one that goes. That's the one that's always put to the end of the case. Is what I call me time, and I think it's got to be one of the most important. It doesn't matter how busy you are, family life, with your career, with your business, whatever it might be, you've got to find time for yourself. Just time is, even if it's 10-15 minutes a day, but it's time just to reflect, to refocus, to reset the mindset. When you've been rushing about, you've had a really busy week, for example, just need to take some time out so you can just reset everything, bring yourself back. And I think a lot of men, again, they get so busy doing that in their midlife that they feel that they haven't got time to ask for help. They haven't got time to go out and try and solve all the problems going on up here, because they've got so much stuff going on externally, so they forget about the internal stuff.
Yes, that's true. But again, if you flip it, the healthier you are internally, the healthier the external is.
So true.
And everything else. And it's just something that, again, the first step might be uncomfortable, but starting to look after ourselves is a huge step. And then that will have a ripple effect anyways on other areas of life. So yeah, and actually I had a chat with someone yesterday, if I may share just quickly, and he said there are a lot of men who are chasing the achievements, and righteously slow, like if there is family and if there's career and things like that, but the energy you put behind it does matter.
Yeah.
Are you chasing it? Are you doing it with stress and burnout and lots of anxiety and all those stuff? Or are you showing up with a better energy, more more focused, or with more of a peace of mind? So there is a difference between the two. So I think that's something maybe men could consider, and also what the energy they bring into their lives will affect other people, other people's lives as well. So family will be impacted, maybe career or teammates, anyone around them.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest areas I saw was, or when I actually noticed it, was when I was going through the tougher times. Internally, I wasn't aware of how that was having the effect on my external life, so my family or my friends and people like that. I just didn't see it. When you do go out and you do get the help and you start your new journey, you start to improve, and then it will have that knock-on effect to your family. It's like having go back to the conditioning thing we talked about earlier. If you are if your kids are seeing you as somebody who's very stressed out, isolated, not sharing, then how are they going to be when they get older? As I say, 50% of how you are comes from your parents. And then 30% of how you're brought up. So that's already 80% of you, of how you are as a person, is being brought up through your parents are. But then also how you're brought up as well. So if you're seeing your parents acting that way, then that's going to have a knock-on effect to you. So you need to think about that as well. So if you are struggling, just think about, the first thing you've got to think about is yourself, number one. But then afterwards, think about the people that's also having the effect on, which will then give you that boost to go, actually, I need to stop, I need to get myself sorted out, or my son's going to go through exactly the same emotions and problems that I'm doing, because that's what he sees. I'm the person he looks up to, And
Mm-hmm.
if you're
Yeah.
acting that way, then that's the way they're going to end up being as well.
Yes, that's true. That's true. We don't only teach tangible things to children, but we also teach them emotions through our emotional states and through our emotional awareness.
Yeah.
And that's very important because
And at the end,
it's the most important.
yeah, the midlife bit, it comes down to men think they need to figure it out all on their own.
Yes.
They need to figure it out now and need to figure it out on their own, and it's just not reality.
No. Yeah. Here's another thing I have to figure out on my own. I figured so many things out already. Here's another thing on my plate. Or my plate is already full and I have to figure this out on my own. And that's really absolutely not the case. And as we discussed, it's not about losing control or losing any of the achievements. It's not about losing status. It's really about just, I think, understanding that this kind of help that men would seek for in this area in this space of their lives or time of their lives is a help that nobody is taught how to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need help with it. So, yeah,
it's very, very true. And talking about the asking for help, that moves on nicely to probably the most important factor of it all, and the one I really want to kind of emphasise on this podcast is the misconceptions about asking for help. So we've kind of talked about it slightly, but it is so important and such a blockade in men's mindsets is this. If you ask for help, it's the weakness. Seeking pity or seeking help, whatever it is seen as a weakness. Whereas what it should be seen as, and the way I see it now, it's that proactive step towards progress, towards growth, and more importantly, to finding this resolution to sorting out what is going on up in your head.
Yes, absolutely. I like that proactive action. Yes,
that's
for sure.
What ask for help's all about is a proactive step.
Yes.
And you'll be surprised, and they'll probably be very surprised. I mean, they keep seeing it as a weakness or something they shouldn't be doing. They're worried about how people will perceive them if they do. They'll probably end up being, and I was very surprised about how people perceived me when I did actually do it.
Yes.
I thought that's really strong. That's incredible that you could do that. So many men just could never do that at your age, and and I did it, and then it just completely eradicated those worries that I had when I spoke to people about it. They were just like, and then even because I did it. Then I emphasised the importance of it and the benefits of it to other people, and then they went out and did it, and they come back and thanking me for sharing the experience and the benefits it had on me, because it's now had that knock-on effect. It's that snowball effect. You can pass it on to somebody. So that's a really important factor. Is once you can go out and do it, then you can share with other people.
Yes, that's beautiful, Chris. That's beautiful. Well done. Yes. I hope whoever is listening is taking notes on these lessons that you've learned. Because everything you've just shared is one step ahead, one step forward. It's empowerment, it's encouragement, it's just for your benefit, right? It's beautiful.
And the other thing is, until you actually go out, take that first step, you'll never know what help's out there. So they may. That's the other thing is, men seem to think, well, there's no help for us. As I talked about earlier in the corporate industry, that's what I saw. There wasn't at that time. It was definitely starting to get better, but I still think there's a lot of work to do in that kind of industry. But outside it, there is so much help out there for men. But if you don't, as you said earlier, if you don't know, you don't know. So until you go out there and do your research and speak to people, you're never going to know. But you'll be very surprised when you do go out there that there's a heck of a lot of help there for you, waiting for you. So much resource, so many people willing to help. But until you, as a person, go out and do it yourself, they're not going to come to you. You know, you have to go to them.
Yes.
You know, there is some groups that will try and will share how they're going to help. But as I said, you don't go out and ask for help. You know, they aren't going to come and they aren't going to come and find you. You need to go find them.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Yes, and there is loads of help out there. Yes, for sure.
So moving on, I just wanted to, just have a quick think about all the hows. So we just talked about one just there. But it's more, the big one is reframing. It's difficult because of the way people are conditioned, but you can still change it. I talked about earlier, you have that, 50% comes from your parents, you've got 30% of how you're brought up and conditioned. There's still 20% there left for you to make changes. So, you can go out and you can reframe the help seeking. So you're going to go out and seek the help and reframe it in your mind that it's a positive. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your family. It's going to benefit your career. It's going to have so many benefits on you. And that's the way that I want, from this podcast to try and get men to see that, stop thinking it as something that they shouldn't do. It's a weakness, and completely flip that round to that, seeking help is a superpower.
Yes. Yes.
And the same
Totally.
with, same thing with vulnerabilities, normalizing them. I think I used to work in an industry where we talked about people's vulnerabilities a lot, and it actually came out, people might not always share them, but probably every single person, or a high percentage of every human in the world, has some sort of vulnerability.
Yes. Yes.
For example, we're talking about now, vulnerability, not being able to ask for help is one. Or,
yes.
You've got a very closed mindset, for example, you need help to open up, which will then improve you as a person, things like that. So it's kind of normalizing vulnerabilities.
For sure, 100%. We connect to people who are vulnerable easier. People who are vulnerable is seen as strength, are seen as strong. We give them more respect subconsciously.
Yeah.
I never forget that CEO at my corporate when I was a corporate who was very vulnerable and open, and he could share stuff, and he's got so much respect around him. Everyone loved him. He was approachable. Of course, at the same time, he kept his authority and leadership, but he gained more respect than the ones who were shut down.
Yeah.
Or they were coming from a place of maybe strong emotions. So definitely.
And that's not a very, very good point, is the word respect. You feel that if you ask for help, you're going to lose respect. Again, it comes down to actually you're not. You're going to probably get more respect for actually opening up. And this is what men need to hear. They need to hear this. You're going to get, if you actually go for it and open up, respect you'll get from your peers, from your family, will be a lot more than if you actually keep it inside, don't share it, and continue through this path of being unhappy, frustrated, overwhelmed, burnt out human being, whatever it might be, which, as much as you try and hide it, You cannot hide it. It will come out somehow. You know, you might be able to hide it for a certain amount of time, but then something will happen, and you know, it's for me, for example, it was frustration.
Yes.
So I would try and keep myself under control, not get frustrated at things, but there'll be something that will just tip me over the edge, and then that'll come out, and people will see it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and when that comes out, when I call it the volcano erupts, that's when actually that's a very, very good chance for many men to lose respect.
Yes, exactly, and it is because of the way you feel, and then the way you then react, and people see this. The way you come across, the way you talk, or the action you might take, or the frustration you show. You will, you will lose respect because of that. People don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see,
Yeah.
they want to see you living the happiest life you can. But when you act like that, you are just got to lose respect.
That's for sure. Yes. Yes. That's for sure.
So yeah, so I mean, to me,
Yeah.
the biggest
Mm.
areas or the points to pull out are, it's asking for help is not a weakness; it's a strength.
Yes.
You'll gain more respect, as you just said, by asking for help. You'll improve yourself as a person if you go out and ask yourself for help. There'll be goals out there. It could be business, it could be personal goals that you're struggling to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, you may not know why, but when you go out and you ask for the help that you've noticed you need, then suddenly these goals will become easier to attain
Absolutely.
because you're living the real you and you're not hiding behind this mask. So it's a case of stop hiding behind the mask. Come out, speak about how you truly feel.
Yes. 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 Exactly, Chris. Yes. Couldn't agree with you more. It's absolutely superpower to seek help and step into the true version of ourselves, who we really are, and release that mask. And that's what actually leads to more contentment, more connection, relationships, impact, the legacy a man wants to build. So there is definitely a way to it, and there is definitely loads of resources of help out there,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
And that's the thing, there is, when you go out there and at the moment you don't know what you don't know, you go out, you start seeking the help you need and looking for the resources you need. They are there. You just need to go out and look for them.
Yes.
There's so much help. With the technology you have nowadays, there's so much help out there.
Yes.
And then there's also they might be worrying about how they portray how they're feeling, their emotions. It's learning. So you just go out there and start. We talked about before. You might not know exactly now how to share how you feel, and it goes back to the very first time when I decided I needed help, and I sat down with a counsellor and started speaking to them. It all just came out. The first
Yes.
the first chat I had must have been about an hour long, and it wasn't easy. It was difficult, but even I still remember that moment I left the meeting, and the weight that had been lifted off my shoulders from that first 1 hour chat was incredible. It was just like, wow, that was incredible. And I just learned how to share my emotions, the language I needed to use. I just started speaking honestly from the heart, and as you go on, you will learn how to do it.
Yes, exactly. Yes, beautiful, Chris. So happy for you. Well done. Amazing.
So I hope.
Amazing.
So, is there anything else you want to discuss at the moment? Any other topics that you had on mind to do with this?
No, I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot.
Yes.
And I hope
Yeah.
People watching that they've helped, that they've seen this. Not just men, women as well. I mean, I know the topic is about men and why they still find it difficult to ask for help, but it doesn't matter male or female. You can take a lot of what we've talked about today. I mean, there will be women out there who do struggle to ask for help or share their emotions. So what we've talked about today will be exactly the same for them. As I say, So it all comes down to that human thing. Or being
Yes.
being a human is the best way to put it. So the other area to talk, I was going to talk about, but I think we should leave this for another podcast because there's so much to talk about it, and that
Okay.
is why it is so tough being a man in 2025. So there's a lot of what we've talked about today, but I think we'll leave that and we'll do another podcast on that. But there's a lot of to talk about there, and I think sharing what we've talked about today, but bringing it right up to 2025 could be a very beneficial subject for people out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's do that.
So thank you.
Sounds
So
good.
all I've just left to say to you, Beatrix, is thank you very much for being my guest today for this conversation. I think it's been incredibly beneficial. I think that people will get a lot of help from it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at
It
all.
was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. And I really hope your audience got benefits and value from it.
I'm sure they will.
And
And if
I just would like to leave every man with not toxic positivity, but with some empowerment and encouragement that anyone is capable to make changes in their lives, and including you, whoever you are listening to.
And I've been following Beatrix for a long time now, and stuff that they've been posting, and I find it incredibly beneficial. So I'm
Thank you.
sure many men out there as well will find it incredibly beneficial with the not just men and women, but we're talking about men at the moment. But it's incredibly helpful. All the stuff that you share, post,
Thank you.
and the coaching that you do as well is incredibly helpful. And it's
Thank you,
an area
Chris.
that men just need to take that big first stride and just go for it. And if
Yes.
you need help,
Yes.
go out there, ask for it,
Mm-hmm.
find the right help for you, and have that conversation. And the difference it'll make to you is incredible. It's night and day. It really is. It certainly was for me, and I'm sure it will be for others.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Yes, yes. Be curious
Yes, exactly.
and go out there. Be curious and go out there.
Okay, thank you very much, Beatrix. I will end it there, and we will,
Thank you.
as I said, we will probably do another follow-up podcast, so look out for that. And we'll be sharing lots of more insightful and beneficial information in. I will just leave it there now. Thanks all.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. See you
Bye.
soon. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.